You want to know something? I find it truly astonishing that we have been getting Spider-Man blockbusters for 24 years at this point, and this is the first time we've ever gotten a Spider-Man 4. I know the reasons as to why. Spider-Man 3, while good and enjoyable in its own right, pale in comparison to the first two. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2? Come on, there's nothing more to be said about how bad that movie is.
That's all I got, briefcase full of junk.
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm the future of musical theater, Scott.
That guy's hilarious.
So it's just so surreal to finally get a fourth installment for a single adaptation of the character. And boy howdy, does Spider-Man Brand New Day create an experience so immersive, so awe-inspiring, that it totally warrants being made. So today, I want to share my opinions with the movie, as it is one of the best cinematic experiences I think I have ever had. So I just want to yap about this movie for a little bit. The first section will be completely spoiler-free, while a later section will feature more detailed thoughts about the film. I will provide timestamps for the sake of convenience and call out when I am about to hit the spoiler zone. Without further ado, I find no reason but to begin. There are not enough words in the English language to describe the raw emotions going through me for the first 20 or so minutes of this film. It was such a surreal experience I don't even think I had with the previous installment, No Way Home, and I still can't believe that movie exists. The opening of this movie is easily the best showcase of Spider-Man's day-to-day life we've ever seen on the big screen. I feel that it absolutely smokes the opening to TASM 2 in every way imaginable. I have not seen a Spider-Man movie that understands this character more, ever. At least not a live-action adaptation. This is the first film for Spider-Man that has truly felt like a Spider-Man movie since Homecoming. Maybe even TASM 2. I have not yearned for a movie to keep going since seeing Across the Spider-Verse in cinemas. I feel that this movie soars in almost every department, from the writing, to the directing, to the visuals, everything. Everything! The one major element about this movie that isn't very notable to me is the soundtrack. Aside from the absolutely outstanding names of some of these tracks, I feel that it relies almost too heavily on the main MCU Spider-Man theme without other themes to back it up. As a matter of fact, I think this can be applied to every film since Homecoming. I have tracks like Monumental Meltdown or Vulture's theme ingrained in my head. However, I don't really remember any tracks from the following installments. Moving on, I think that the Punisher and Spider-Man's dynamic is hilarious. These two make for such an awesome contradiction of each other. I loved every moment that they shared the screen. The movie in general has a great balance of humor and seriousness, which I can definitely pat Marvel on the back for, given their more recent catalog. The emotional moments in this movie really hit me, and I feel like they would for a majority of other people. The acting overall is as great as it has always been in these movies. There is not a single character, no matter the size of their role, that I feel is poorly portrayed. The movie's antagonist, while I do not think they are particularly original, is still well executed and ties into the movie's themes really well. And seeing the Scorpion finally fulfilling his role after nearly a decade of waiting was well worth it, even if his suit is a little underwhelming. That said, good to see him. Hope to see more of him someday. Speaking of suits, oh my god. This is my favorite Spider-Man suit to ever be put to the screen. Period. No, you know what? This is my favorite comic book suit ever to see in a film. The amount of detailing is just right, the logo is awesome, the colors are lovely, like for all intents and purposes, this is the quintessential Spider-Man suit. And I hope they don't change it unless they replace it with a temporary suit such as the symbiote. With all that said, I feel that it is time for me to get into spoiler territory. For those of you avoiding spoilers, the conclusion of this video will also be spoiler free if you feel like checking that out. If not, thanks for watching my little rant. For those sticking with me, let's go deeper. The way that Peter Parker's Spider-Man is written is without a doubt the best, or at least my favorite version of the character we have ever seen in a film. The quips present are phenomenal. They're well-timed, funny, and not overly excessive. This is with the exception of one, and that is the "I'm not in high school anymore" line. I understand that Peter is trying to stall the guards, maybe trying to confuse them. However, I don't see that being the most efficient way to approach the situation at this moment. Like, Jean is currently holding hundreds of people hostage in her mind castle right now, and you're stretching and making humor? I mean, Okay. But with the exception of that, this film has a great perception of the Spider-Man persona and when Peter should lean into it more. MJ and Ned are handled very interestingly. Ned Leeds has always been one of the best parts about these movies. I mean, what else should one expect from the CEO of sex? Though Ned takes on a very much more supportive role, I still adore his inclusion. MJ and Peter's relationship is handled with so much maturity. I love the scenario that's set up where she finds Peter's note that he wrote after the events of No Way Home. He carries it around with him religiously after Jean returns it to him, which, fair enough, he doesn't really go back to his apartment? Attic? Asbestos factory? His place of living in between that moment and MJ finding it, nor is there a window of opportunity for him to do so. That, and it's completely forgivable that Peter left the note in an easy-to-find spot as Jean just broke into the danger control base. So yeah, it's completely fair that the note would have slipped past his mind at that point. And the aftermath after that, handled with so much complexity that it feels like Jesus is being injected into my bloodstream. Sure, MJ does still subconsciously wear the necklace Peter gave her, but she doesn't magically remember Peter just because of that note, even though that is hinted at the end of the film. The way that she breaks Peter's heart, but still invites him to hang out is so great. Like, sure, MJ doesn't know Peter, and the time that they spent together will never fully return to her, but she still wants to try and be friends with him because despite everything, they still share that bond that they made all that time ago. Though what is interesting is that Ned seems to remember Peter at the very end. We don't know the extent of this, but I'm intrigued to see where future films take this. Of course, there are a few nitpicks that I have through the film. For one, I can recall 3 separate occasions where Peter and DeWolf, Peter's version of Jim Gordon for this film, have conversations over the phone about crime stuff while Peter is just wandering around. While this is not a problem in and of itself, they have these conversations in extremely crowded areas, making no effort to conceal information that should very much not be exposed to the public. The repeated flashback with Aunt May and Peter sometime after Spider-Man Homecoming is really good. For the first and last time they use it, I'm not sure exactly why it's here 3 times. I feel like the one in the middle could really be cut out and the film would not suffer for it at all. Another thing I found odd was not having J. Jonah Jameson in this movie at all. Not that he would add to the story the way he did in No Way Home, but I just find it bizarre that there's not even so much as a cameo from the guy. But like I said, he does not fit in this story very much. Now, for the elephant in the room, Eve. I think it makes a fair bit of sense that Peter would install an AI onto his computer to help him out. He's obviously smart enough and has enough experience with AI to do it, so it feels plausible that he made Eve. The real question is, where did he get the tech for this? Maybe dumpster diving, like we know this Peter does? Because if that's not the case, I'm also pretty sure Peter is unemployed at this point, and if he's not, then he's probably blowing a lot of his paycheck on frequent flowers for May. Regardless, what annoys me most about Eve is the fact that it exists within Peter's suit as well. Granted, Peter does not rely on Eve too much while in the field, it just bothers me a little bit that she's there in the first place. However, Karen was a worse offender and I'm glad Eve has a limited, yet useful role. The way this film connects to the wider MCU was very well done. I'm not sure why Yelena is here. I don't think she served much of a purpose to the film and no unique information was brought up from her multiple appearances aside from calling Spider-Man out for being alone. Which yeah, we don't need to be beat over the head with that piece of information. The Punisher, as mentioned previously, is excellent. Every moment he's on screen is fantastic, which is coming from a guy who has little to no relationship with Punisher outside of this movie. And of course, Bruce Banner returning is amazing. The way that, when Jean initially takes control over Bruce, he becomes Smart Hulk from Endgame rather than instantly becoming Savage Hulk, is a great way to gradually take us from one end of the spectrum to the other. The moment from the comics where, when Peter made everyone forget him in there, Hulk remembered because he wasn't around when that happened is adapted in such a nuanced and subtle way that is just an excellent way for Hulk to stop his rampage. However, there is a small caveat to this. Savage Hulk and Peter have never shared a second of screen time together. During Civil War, Hulk was off in space becoming a gladiator, and during Infinity War, Hulk never gets a chance to meet Peter. The only way that Hulk could recognize Peter is from the New York attack with the children of Thanos at the start of the movie. Yet, in that scene, Bruce is in control, and Hulk is currently locking himself deep into Bruce's subconscious. And Peter has his mask on for that entire time. This moment in a vacuum is one of my favorite moments from the film, and Bruce Banner, overall, perfectly fits with this movie's theme. Speaking of the theme, dear Lord, the theme of this movie and the way it is presented is nigh perfection. This movie is all about change and metamorphosis, and has a very similar theme to my second favorite video game ever made, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which has a story I could ramble on for eons. I think I like the idea of change quite a bit. Spider-Man Brand New Day is about accepting change, and that to repress one's evolution is only going to make things worse. The way that this is conveyed is just marvelous. Having Jean Grey, our first mutant in the main MCU timeline that has plot relevance, be in this movie is a great decision, as she serves a great meta and in-universe role. Introducing mutants in a film all about evolution is a great way for Marvel to let the audience know that this universe will evolve and not to be against it. She also serves the narrative as she greatly shows one end of the spectrum where her evolution brought nothing to her but pain and loss, yet she continued to push forward, taking on a nearly Magneto-like approach to things. Bruce, however, shows the opposite, where he was put in a very similar situation as Jean, yet suppressed his evolution so deep that it has not shown its face in years. I mean, hell, Banner even says to Peter to not do that same exact thing. That hypocrisy is the kind of thing that makes me want to nerd out about this stuff. Now, we don't see what happens to Bruce after this event, as he is discarded from the story right after the Hulk's rampage, though I bet they're waiting to give the Hulk a bigger arc in future Marvel projects. But the way that there are these two figures representing similar situations as the one Peter is in, showing their own extremes while Peter finds more of a balance, is something I just find sensational. This film is written so well, I just adore it to no end. The way this film ends is just incredible. The scene where Peter exits the hospital has to be one of the best in any of these films. Tom Holland's expressions conveying so much feeling without making so much as a peep is so awesome, and seeing people cheer for Spider-Man, showing so much care for all that he has done, with Frank backing him up so that he can escape in incognito, is such a great way to show Peter that he's not alone. In conclusion, I think this is up there with what a textbook superhero movie should be. Could that be recency bias talking? Possibly. Do I think that this is my favorite superhero movie? Only time will tell. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 still holds a big piece of my heart, and is a film I adore with every fiber of my being. That being said, this film is a must-see for any superhero fan. It's funny, emotional, heartwarming, action-packed, the whole 5 yards. If you like Marvel's recent catalog like Thunderbolts, this movie is absolutely for you. From its visuals, to its writing, to the shot composition, I find this movie to be one of, if not the best, live-action Spider-Man film to date. And if we keep getting films with a quality similar to this one, then this character, beloved by so many, has a very bright future ahead of him. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. It was a pleasure to have you listen.